Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another film theory reaction. And this is, will Five Nights at Freddy's 2 fix the lore? So that is an interesting question right there. Honestly, it is. So, what could they possibly be talking about that? Because, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, that was already a prequel, but would they be talking about it, like, being the original location? Which, no, because then there's still the Withered, so there'd still be, you'd have, like, Fredbear's, the original first Freddy's location, the FNAF 2 Freddy's, and then that would eventually go on to the FNAF 1 Freddy's eventually. So what part of the lore are they talking about? Granted, I know there are definitely a lot of pieces of FNAF lore that, could use at least a little bit of tightening up, but I'm honestly hesitating to think what about the movies, at least from, like, the trailers we've seen so far, what they could use to, fix the lore of the games? Because, God, that is definitely a thing. Granted, there's so much about the FNAF 2 movie we still don't know about, but that whole, Freddy Fazbear Festival that we see, people at with, the games and stuff, who's running that? Where does Abby get that little clear plastic Chica that she was building? Did she get it from the festival? How does she get the Faz Talker that the toys, or the puppet, depending on who, where does she get it from that they start communicating to her through it? Granted, I very much hope that we actually learn that stuff in the movie, which I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that we will. But again, there's still a lot of questions here, and will it fix the lore? Let's actually see. I'm genuinely curious. So yeah, should probably get this thing started and see where this is going to lead. So yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my game theory reaction. And if you like this video or any other video that I make, I'd very much appreciate it if you gave the video a like and subscribe to my channel, because almost 3/4 of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, and I'd very much like that to change. And at this point, I'm just trying to see how close to 7,000 subscribers I can get before the end of the year. But yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
We finally have some answers. The last Five Nights at Freddy's 2 trailer just dropped ahead of the movie's release in December, and let me tell you, this one actually gives us some closure on questions the fan base has had for years. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film.
Okay, wait a second. I did just think of one thing that could potentially help, fix the lore, and that's who actually died first. Who was the first murdered child? Because of course you have, Susie, or, who eventually became Chica, saying, I was the first, I have seen everything in Ultimate Custom Night. But then it also seems that, was it Charlie who became the puppet? Or, there are a lot of things, and from everything I've seen in the trailer, because I did do a reaction to the trailer, if I remember, I'll put the link up to it there. If I don't, remind me. But it seemed like we meet Henry in the movie, and he says, when it first happened, everyone said it was an accident. But years later, with those children's murders, I knew it wasn't a mistake, or I knew it was him, or something along those lines. So, in the movie, it seems like Charlie, i.e., the puppet, was the first, of William's victims to, and also the first one to possess an animatronic. So I guess that could also, help answer things. Or, again, it could also be, just the movie being its own timeline where they've kind of simplified things because they don't have, 10 years worth of games.
Theory, the show that's creeping through an abandoned pizzeria in the dead of night. I really hope I don't get jump scared by the subscribe button. Ah, jeez, come on, man. I punched you right in the face. So...
Thinking that reminds me of that one clip from Smiling Friends where Charlie sent to hell. It's if you do that to me again, I'm gonna punch you in the throat. And when the guy does do it again, he punches him in the throat. It's see, I told you.
So at this point, you know what Five Nights at Freddy's is. We're almost in the double digits of videos about it here on Film Theory.
Oh, yeah, okay, never mind.
Let alone the dozens and dozens over at our sister location.
I honestly, I paused that because I had a brain fart here and thought this was the game theory playlist. Wait a second, there has to be more videos than that. But no.
Game theory. The first movie was a huge hit, and the sequel, coming this December, looks like it's continuing the trend and adapting some of the best parts of the Five Nights franchise while also bringing in a lot of new ideas for the series. Honestly, I'm kind of excited about that. Like, if
Oh god, wait a second. Could the other thing be like what was in the box the whole time? Oh.
If you're going to be making an adaptation of something in a different medium, use the unique ways of storytelling in that medium to add ideas while keeping to the spirit of that original IP. Anyway, because the new movie is coming out really soon, December 5th, one final trailer released 1 month ahead of that, in the middle of a Wednesday while I was working on something else. The script for the 10th anniversary video on film theory, actually. Man, FNAF, it's making me delay that until January. Just how on brand for Theorist is that? Apparently, this trailer was leaked.
Again, like, I've said it before, and I think many other people have said it as well. Like, FNAF, like, when it comes to, like, YouTubers, like Markiplier and all those other, like, generation of Let's Players, and specifically, like, you know, Matt Pat when he ran all of these channels, FNAF built the houses that all these YouTubers lived in, just for how massive a franchise it is.
In that an unlisted copy was uploaded and sleuthy fans found it before they were supposed to. I
have
to wonder if that forced their hand or if they always meant for this to come out on the 5th, but who knows at this point. So of course, I had to drop what I was doing to try to break down this trailer, since we've done it for every other one in this franchise. It's kind of like an ongoing series for us here on Film Theory. Anyway, loyal theorists, this trailer was interesting. Why? Well, I was shocked with just how much they showed here. Like, if you dig into what they show and the meaning of what's on screen, they answered a lot of questions that have lingered in the fan base for years at this point. It makes me really excited for what this film is going to do when it's fully released. But for now, let's break down this trailer to see what secrets are hiding in its animatronic endoskeleton, shall we? Grab your flashlights, friends, as we're going into this haunted pizzeria. So we start with the shot of Vanessa waking up and Mike asking her about her dreams on their little date night from previous trailers.
So you wanna tell me about your bad dreams?
We then hop to a sequence where we see a young Vanessa running through her house as she's haunted by a vision of her father, William Afton. I speculated earlier that shots like this with Afton in this house were either a dream or a ghost, so I guess that's confirming that we are
it's a dream or memory.
We then see Vanessa hiding in this dream in a closet or under a bed or something.
In the fourth closet? Nah.
And a little bit later, we see Afton grab a knife in this dream similar to the one that he uses as Spring Bonnie. If they are legitimately trying to give us an origin story for this knife or why he uses a knife, I'm gonna lose it in the theater. In the present, Vanessa opens a closet in her apartment or house or whatever and pulls out a box clearly full of stuff from her childhood. And guys, we finally know what's in the box. Real talk though, this box looking similar to the mysterious one from the games had to be intentional or at least a fun nod. I see you, Scott. I see you. Anyway, the next shot is Vanessa putting out a bunch of toys almost as if she's displaying them. There's some marbles, a small book, what looks like a little mirror, and Garrett's plane. Yeah, you know, Mike's little brother murdered by Afton, the toy plane that he had in the first movie that we know was given to Vanessa. I have to wonder, are these all things from her childhood or maybe something darker? Like, were these items taken from Afton's victims and given to Vanessa like the plane was? That would be incredibly creepy and just totally in line with this franchise, man. And
oh God, again, just the question of where is Garrett? Because again, like the simple thing would have been to, you know, make Garrett Golden Freddy, but that's obviously not who Golden Freddy is, unless they are doing with the whole thing where Golden Freddy's possessed by two spirits. Which how are they going to talk about that in a future movie? Who knows? But at the same time, like, what else? Like, unless in this universe, like, Garrett is, you know, the crying child, or the crying child of this universe. I mean, that, Because, again, we haven't seen, like, so far, we've seen William, like, everything that's shown, he's only had, like, one kid in the movie universe, and that's Vanessa. So, I mean, with the crying child being such a big part of FNAF lore, and the fact that there hasn't really been anything of the crying child, like, well, I mean, officially, again, there was that one bit in the first movie where, like, kid screams, and there's, like, the dark black stuff coming out of their eyes and stuff like that, so I guess that kind of counts. But that's I can't help but feel that's a little bit cheating.
I also have to ask, why is she displaying them here? Like, it could be that she's trying to get through things emotionally or confront those bad memories, but maybe she's trying to summon a spirit, like the spirits of these kids, or maybe of her father? I don't know if that makes a lot of sense or if it would work with the story, but it did come to me and I wanted to share that idea. Over all of this, we hear Mike say,
We're never gonna be able to move forward until you...
Which, actually thinking about another thing I just thought of here, sort of, how are the ghost kids going to be handled in this movie? Because, like, are we going to see the ghost kids from the first movie again? Because, again, at the same time, they are, you know, kids still. And we've seen, you know, Abby, or her actress, I should say, I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I'm sorry. But, like, she's had, like, a comparatively major growth spurt in between, you know, the first movie and this movie. Which, I mean, for her, makes sense. She's still, you know, a living, breathing, you know, girl. You know, I think from what I saw, she's 11. So, yeah, that's about the age when girls get their growth spurts and stuff like that. The ghost kids are dead. And, you know, don't change. And I assume they'd want to try to at least, you know, keep, you know, the same actors from the first movie. So, what's going to happen there?
You deal with some of the mess you left in your head.
this is interesting because it sounds a lot like what Vanessa was dealing with in Help Wanted and that whole era, where Glitch Trap was a sort of AI infecting her brain and all of that jazz. But instead of using the weird new era stuff with AI and making it all confusing, it's using a lot of the paranormal reasoning from the earlier, simpler, and frankly more popular parts of the franchise as a jumping off point. Again, this is just another example of taking stuff that worked from every era of the Freddy's IP and smushing it into these movies. Next up, we cut to a scene of Mike talking to a man, looking over various pictures and newspaper clippings regarding Afton, a little girl, the pizzeria, and the murders. And let me tell you, when I saw this scene, I got super excited because
that has to be Henry.
This guy is supposed to be Henry Emily, Afton's business partner from the game franchise and father of Charlie Emily, the girl that possesses the puppet in the games who we believe will do the same here in the movies. There are plenty of reasons that this guy is Henry. Like, first off, he has a picture of a girl we've identified as Charlie.
Oh my god, I only just noticed that, you know, she's also wearing a black and white striped shirt. Does this girl own any other types of clothing with any other colors? Or is this like cartoon logic where they only ever have the one type of shirt?
In his notes. And it looks like the sort of school photo or professional portrait that you'd only really expect a parent to have of their child. And it's accompanied with a little note that reads, "Daddy, I am really sorry you missed my birthday, but I really love my present." Again, that's the sort of thing a parent would have from their kid and keep in a scrapbook like this. But the meta reason I am positive that this guy is Henry Emily, well, it's because he's being played by the actor Skeet Ulrich. If you don't know, Ulrich is an actor with a lot of history in weird, supernatural, or adjacent film and television. He had a main role in Riverdale for years, he was a jerky jock in The Craft, and most importantly for us, he was also the boyfriend character Billy in Scream. That's significant for a couple of reasons.
Of course. Of course he is. He's in Scream, and he was... And now that it's coming back to me, he was the partner to whatever the name of the other killer from that movie is. I'm complete you know, the character that Matthew Lillard played. Okay, I see what you're doing here, Blumhouse. Okay.
Mostly that Billy turned out to be the Ghostface killer in Scream, and that he wasn't working alone. Billy committed those crimes with his best friend Stu, played by none other than Matthew Lillard. They were friends and partners in crime in that movie, and
they were roommates.
Given how much of a face Lillard has become for Afton in the FNAF series, I absolutely see the studio and filmmakers getting Ulrich for the part of Henry Emily, Afton's business partner, as a nod to Scream and a bit of stunt casting that horror fans would love. And to be clear, this is not me saying that Henry in the film is like a co-conspirator in all of Afton's murders or anything like that, only that they were partners in making the animatronics. Now, talking about this actual moment in the trailer, there are lots of small details I wanted to mention and break down, because because they're eyebrow-raising at the very least. First of all, the shirt Charlie is wearing in
Black
this
and white
photo has
stripes.
black and white stripes, once again driving home the puppet aesthetic. And secondly, her note talks about a present, which again is a nod to the puppet. The puppet animatronic comes out of a present, and the night she went missing in the games, it was because she was locked out of a birthday party. Like really, they're just hitting the nail on the head over and over again that Charlie is going to be the puppet, and it's very on brand. Next, the note also says, "I miss our park," before getting cut off because it's folded over. This is a bit weird. At first I thought it might be referencing FNAF 1, where Garrett went missing in that movie. Like maybe it was a pattern for Afton that he took kids in parks, but that falls apart for a couple of reasons I'll get to shortly. So perhaps...
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, at least from the opening credits of the first one, where you see like the little pixel animated sections, it's at least assumed that in the movies, William's victims, at least the ones that became animatronics, were also, killed and kidnapped from inside the restaurant.
Perhaps this park is a reference to the theme park of the Fall Fest that we see later in the trailer. It's just a thought anyway. We also get a little news article here about William Afton's early ambitions. This is more or less a puff piece, but it does talk about how Afton was a genius with animatronics and continued experimenting with new ways of making them. This is definitely pointing towards his work with Remnant and trapping souls in the animatronics. It's also strange that Henry is not as big of a focus here, because we thought Afton was the business guy in their partnership and Henry was more the animatronic guy. But this is letting us know that, sure, maybe Henry knew his way around animatronics, but Afton was also an animatronic guy. But okay,
I mean, I could also see it being much more again, like with how people suspected before, I could see it as being very similar to how people imagined it, before, where, Henry was, very good with designing and building animatronics, able to give them that so-called spark of life. And William became jealous, and then all the Remnant experiments, to literally inject the spark of life into the animatronics. And maybe that whole thing, after, hiding the actual gruesome details of how the technology was done from the public, and kind of showed, oh, hey, look how much more advanced, quote unquote, my animatronics are other than him. So maybe that's why, I don't know. I mean, I could see it.
all that is neat or whatever, but the big thing we learn here, and the thing that made me and Tom light up like animatronic Christmas trees, this line right here.
It wasn't until years later when those 5 children went missing that I knew she was murdered.
So this might just seem like a normal trailer line, but this is actually huge. Why? Well,
Charlie
it
was the
confirms that
first.
Charlie died first, before the other murdered kids. This was something we were pretty sure about for a while thanks to the books. Charlie died in 1983, and thanks to the Silver Eyes trilogy and Into the Pit, we knew that the other kids died in 1985. But then Help Wanted 2 came out and threw all of that into question. In that game, there are a set of gravestones you need to interact with for one of the endings, and if you light the graves in a certain order, you get a collectible. And to do that, the puppet's grave was the one you lit last, implying that she died last, and throwing everything we knew into question. So this right here is absolutely an example of Scott using these movies to set the record straight, and man, I'm so here for it. After all of us here at Theorist and in the FNAF theorizing community struggled for so long to get straight answers, it's so satisfying to finally have some. Next, we then cut to Charlie, tears running down her face, screaming as she holds a boy in her arms. We're definitely in the pizzeria back when it was at its peak here, given that we see a birthday party sort of situation going on. This whole sequence seems to be a continuation of another shot from an earlier trailer where we see this same boy in the pizzeria as Afton, in the Spring Bonnie outfit, peeks through a door to look at him.
Again, I think, what was I watching? I was watching Idy's Fantasies, like her live stream reaction to the trailer, and I think if I remember correctly, she was suggesting, and some of the people in her chat were suggesting, that like the idea that scene where we see Charlie kind of like screaming, holding who we presume is her brother, and then kind of like falling to her knees, was maybe that's how she saw herself, and she was already dead and possessing the puppet at that point. I mean, that would definitely be cool. Who knows?
So, a couple of thoughts here. Did Charlie just witness this kid almost get murdered, and that's why she's crying? Or maybe, giant swing here, but are they both already dead? Yeah, probably not. Everyone is looking at her when she screams, but it would be a cool Sixth Sense type of reveal if, when she puts the kid down, we see like a stab wound or something. But more importantly than that, I'm pretty sure that this is right before Charlie is killed. Earlier in the trailer, Henry says this.
Everyone called it an accident.
Everyone called it an accident. And here we see Charlie standing on a little platform. If I were to guess, this is where the puppet would come out during performances. Oh, and also, again, they're emphasizing the stripes on her sleeves here. Love how consistent that is. So putting the pieces together here, this platform is likely a trap door, and she's about to fall through and into the machinery of the puppet animatronic. So
Oh, okay. That's definitely a different way of seeing it. Though, okay, actually, wait a second. So that does kind of make more sense if it was everybody thought it was an accident. Because the original way it's depicted, you know, in the games, Charlie was locked outside, William killed her, and then the puppet, which was some form of security system, went out looking for her and basically not fell apart, but basically ceased functioning in the rain and collapsed on top of her. So, like, I'm guessing, you know, that's a lot. Calling that an accident, you know, small girl left out in the rain with a gaping chest wound. Yeah, I have a hard time believing that would be classified as an accident. So having her literally, you know, fall through a trapdoor and be crushed by whatever machinery maneuvers the puppet or the box, as we've seen, because that's also a very big mechanical contraption as well. Yeah, that's actually a lot more believable. I can get behind that.
something everyone would think was an accident. Notice how the other kid is suspiciously not on this platform when it focuses on Charlie's feet? It's about to open up and have Charlie fall to her death. Oh, and bonus points, that would make things way less confusing than it was in the game, since that had the puppet like find Charlie outside. It was very strange, and it follows the film's running mission statement of taking the recognizable parts of FNAF and simplifying them for the mainstream. We then get a lot of shots that just feel like classic horror movie fare that don't really add anything to our breakdown of the movie. We see a kid at Abby's school asking if she's ever gonna go back to Freddy Fazbear's, and then cut to her
going back
there.
Tommy? Yeah.
Animatronics wake up, and we see Mike and Vanessa in the pizzeria reacting to Balloon Boy's laugh coming from somewhere in its depths. Oh, and we also hear someone say,
"Where are you gonna run to?"
That's a line repeated from an earlier trailer. Back then I wasn't 100% sure who was saying this, but now it definitely sounds like it's from Afton. Oh, and also I have to point out, we can clearly see the carousel here in this shot with the 4 animals that you would expect: Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, and Chica. None of the extra animals mentioned on the potentially real script pages that Scott released during the 10th anniversary event. And man, at this point, it feels like Scott is just toying with me. Why are you doing this to me, man?
I mean, granted, it could be the fact that that was a very early version of the script, and since, you know, and long before any of the, you know, and long before any of the sets or stuff could have been, you know, could have been built, and when they actually did get around to building it, they decided, oh, let's simplify it a little bit and, you know, only put the 4 main animals on it. But you never know. I'm still hoping for the one where, you know, I mean, we already know the animatronics are going to talk, at least the toy animatronics. So there is the one where, you know, you have Toy Chica, like, saying, like, asking Abby to help free them. So, you know, it could be being tricked or something. Who knows?
Checking the carousel for animals gonna be my version of counting animatronic toads. We then see the toy animatronics out and about, like they've been really hammering home in the marketing for this movie. They even have a line saying,
"Half of this town will be dead by morning,"
letting us know just how much the stakes have been raised here. We see Freddy at the Fall Fest fair thing, Matthew Patrick raising a knife sharpener from a knife block about to stab a woman, Megan Fox chasing the guy from Jurassic Park inside of a school supply room, and Balloon Boy creeping on a Freddy security guard, who should be played by Markiplier. Come on, Mark, I know you're busy. Congrats on the wedding, by the way, but the fans really want to see you in these movies. And
yeah, God, I know. That's the one thing, like, I want to see Mark in these movies. He is like the face of FNAF. But also thinking about it, I'm not the only one that saw, but did you see that picture of, like, oh god, I'm forgetting who the name of the actor, but you know, Michael was at the desk on the computer typing, and then you just have Balloon Boy standing, like, looming over the computer from behind. It looks so funny.
the last thing of note here, but we see the withered animatronics wake up and various jump scare shots of them, including Mangle attacking a car with Vanessa inside. In a previous trailer, we see them attacking the van with the paranormal investigators, so it looks like attacking vehicles will be their MO here in this movie. Or at the very least, he does it twice. Huh, weird. I just found 2 nickels. Something else I wanted to point out, though, is that none of the withered animatronics we see here in the movie have red eyes, though basically all of the toy animatronics have them at one point or another. To me, this pretty much confirms that the toy animatronics have a sort of child protection software that we mentioned in previous theories, and the withered animatronics don't. Those red eyes represent the software coming online and having them kill random people. This does make me wonder though, if the toys are just robots that seem to be corrupted, perhaps the withered are connected with the spirits from the first movie, or new spirits entirely? It's just a thought.
I mean, granted, the way I could see that working is... So, I mean, for the longest time, we always assumed, oh, the Wizards were the ones that came before, and, the classic ones from FNAF 1 were, the sort of upgraded versions of the Wizards after FNAF 2. But then it was revealed that, the classics were the originals, and then there was this weird thing where, like, oh, they were going to try to implement the new technology into the classics, and that's what led to the Wizards, but then that failed, or it was cheaper just to literally go with the toys, and then after the toys failed, they went back to just regular old classics again. But with this, I could potentially see it if, the Wizards are also, like, haunted by the spirits. I could potentially see it as, the Wizards were the original animatronics, where they then went with the toys. But then, once the toys failed and they had to go to the next restaurant, they used, just for, like, cost-cutting measures, they used parts of the Wizards to, like, make the quote-unquote new ones, or the classic animatronics. Great, I mean, saying that out loud, that does sound a little convoluted, so again, we'll have to see how it plays out.
Now, those are the broad strokes of the trailer, and most of our learnings from it. But of course, it's a FNAF trailer, and there's deeper meanings to be found here. And probably the most important thing that I picked up from this trailer was that it really seems like this movie is going to be answering a lot of questions that the series has asked for a long time. When young Vanessa is having this scary dream about her dad in the trailer, we see a bunch of images of a workshop. There's a bunch of animatronic equipment, as well as like medical tools you might find in a doctor's office or hospital or whatever. Now, there's a lot of dust on this medical equipment, so if you ask me, this actually isn't connected to the dream at all. This is something I think the characters are going to find in the present day, and it just like matched the tone for the rest of the trailer, so, they pulled trailer trickery and shoved that together.
Of course, as you do.
Nor there. No, the big thing I wanted to focus on here was this. We see designs for a Freddy Fazbear animatronic on some
version
old paper.
3.
Of course, you know us. When something like this pops up on screen, I absolutely had to pore over to see if there was any new information we could glean from it. And oh boy, don't you know that there was. You see up here where it says that this is Freddy 3.0, that it's a new design? Well, that's significant because if you compare this against all the other Freddy animatronics we see in the film series, this lines up most with the Freddy Fazbear from the first movie. The main Freddy, the classic Freddy, not the withered or the toy Freddy designs. You can really tell if you compare the jaw designs for the blueprint, classic Freddy, toy Freddy, and withered Freddy. This is
only bottom
definitely
teeth.
referring to the original Freddy from the first movie. And that's significant because, well, for a long time we weren't sure if the withered animatronics and the classic animatronics were the same animatronics or not. And that created a lot of confusion and ambiguity in the timeline and the story. But this right here is saying very clearly on paper that they are different. Most likely that the toy and withered animatronics came first and that the classic animatronics came later. And that's just from this one shot from one of these teasers.
Though that being said, Secret of the Mimic might have something to say about that. Oh god, why is FNAF lore never simple?
Who knows what answers the full movie's gonna give us? This might seem like I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. Like, this isn't really that big a deal, right? But this is really emblematic of not only this movie series as a whole, but honestly, where the entire FNAF franchise is right now. Here, check this. Looking at the writing credits of a lot of the major FNAF projects over the last few years, you'll notice a little bit of a trend. For Security Breach, Scott wasn't really credited as a writer, and that's probably why the story was a bit frustrating both for us and for Scott. After that, neither the DLC for Ruin or Help Wanted 2 had credited writers, but the first movie had Scott, Seth Cuddyback, and Emma Tammy, the director of the movie, all as writers. And in more recent projects, well, Scott was the main writer along with Steel Wool co-founder Jason Topolsky on Secret of the Mimic. And Scott is the only writer on this new FNAF 2 movie. And what that tells me is that Scott is trying to take the story of FNAF back.
Wait, really? He's the only credited writer? Huh. Okay, I don't know whether to be, happy or scared about that, because honestly, that could go in either direction.
trying to claw back control over this franchise and this narrative to make it the way he wants it to be. To go back and tell these stories in a way that's more crystal clear and planned out, because he was kind of flying by the seat of his pants when this series originally came out. And with these movies, he's taking that opportunity to make it crystal clear, all while giving us more than a little bit of fan service along the way. Like, for real, did you see Toy Chica? What are we doing here, man?
Hey, I mean, granted, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest here. I don't think FNAF would have been as big as it is now if it wasn't for the fact that we had something like Toy Chica so early in the fandom's history. You look me in the eyes and tell me otherwise.
But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on Film Theory.
God, honestly, again, more wonderful FNAF stuff, and I have to wonder. Again, like, wait, have they started selling tickets yet? Let me check, because that's one of the things that, like, I was kind of disappointed about. Like, while I did see the first FNAF movie in theaters, I saw it, like, well after it had already started playing, so the theater I went into was basically almost empty. When it comes out, I want to see it in a full theater. I want to get that full theater experience. I want to know, have they started selling tickets for it yet? Okay, so so they already have it scheduled, so maybe it could start. Ooh, okay, maybe I might think about, pre-buying tickets. That's definitely an idea there. But yeah, again, like, I am so looking forward to this next movie, and God, because honestly, like, well, again, I've said before, the first FNAF movie was not perfect, but it was very good, especially for a movie that had been in development hell for so long. This movie has basically been in development since the first one came out, and obviously, well, hopefully, with the experience of the first movie, under their belts, and under his belt specifically for Scott, like, they're able to, like, fix some of the mistakes, like some of the slow parts and stuff like that happened in the first movie. But yeah, this is definitely going to be it for now. So yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.